The recording has started now, Chair.
Thank you very much, Leona. Afternoon and welcome to this meeting of the Local Review Body. I'm Councillor Annette Ireland. I'm Chair to the Local Review Body. I'd like to welcome Councillor Convery, Provost Fletcher and Councillor Miller here today as members of the Local Review Body. Sharon McIntyre is here as Clerk to the Local Review Body. Andrew Benny is the Independent Planning Advisor. He has no involvement in the processing of any of the planning applications which are subject to review and before us today. Jackie McCusker is here as the legal advisor and is responsible for preparing the local review body's decision notices and to provide advice as necessary. Do we have any members of the public here today, Sharon?
There's none in attendance.
Thank you very much. Do you have any apologies for absence?
Yes, with apologies from Councillors Cunningham, Swift and McLean.
Thank you very much. Do any members here today have any declarations of interest to make? Thank you very much. We have two reviews before us today. We have visited both sites prior to the meeting as well. First one before us is review 2022-01. Proposed change of use of existing offices to form restaurant with takeaway facility, including erection of flue to rear, formation of new shop front and external seating. This is at 203 Fenwick Road, Giffnock. Can I ask the local review body if they feel they have sufficient information to determine the review? Thank you very much. Move us on. Can I please ask Andrew to come in, and if you could please introduce this review, please.
Thank you, Chair. Under this application, as you've previously stated, the planning permission is sought for the change of use of an existing office which comprises the application site to form a restaurant with takeaway facility, including the erection of a flue to the rear of the property to provide an appropriate means of ventilation, the formation of a new shop front and the creation of an external seating area to the front of the property. Internally, the proposed change of use would include the formation of the main seated dining area, servery and takeaway counter, a food preparation and kitchen area with a function room and customer toilets being provided in the upper floor of the property. The external alterations to the property involve alterations to the main shop window and door, with the lower portion of the fascia being replaced with an enlarged area of glazing. The external seating area would provide for 8 covers. The proposed opening hours of the premises are as follows: Sunday to Thursday, 7 AM to 11 PM, and Friday to Saturday, 7 AM to midnight. In terms of representations, I can advise members that neither the Council's Roads Service nor Environmental Health Service have offered any objections to the proposed development. 3 letters of objection have been received in respect of the application, with the matters raised within these representations covering the following matters: right of access over the lane to the side of the property, the outdoor seating area would block the pavement, noise, odour and litter nuisance issues, over provision of similar uses within the local area, lack of parking and loss of privacy. In terms of the case officer's assessment of the application, full details are provided within the report of handling, which is included within the agenda papers. The report of handling indicates that the application requires to be assessed against the terms of policies D1 and SG7 of the adopted local plan. Members will be aware that the plan against which the application was assessed has now been replaced by the recently adopted LDP2, albeit the substantive basis of the policies remain the same. The relevant policy, the report of handling advises, first of all, that the proposed change of use would further erode the diverse nature of the town centre at this locale. Secondly, the proposed use would lead to a proliferation of late night opening uses and would give rise to odour and noise nuisance to the detriment of the character and amenity of the area, and in particular would adversely affect the adjacent residential properties. And finally, the proposed shopfront alterations would be at odds with the traditional design of the building and would be detrimental to the visual amenity of the wider area. These various considerations are reflected within the stated reasons for the refusal of the application. In terms of the grounds of appeal put forward by the appellant, these can be summarised as follows. First of all, by creating activity within the property all day, the proposed change of use will contribute to this sense of safety and security. Secondly, the proposed frontage alterations reflect the nature of the frontages on the two adjacent properties. Third, the proposed change of use will animate the streetscape and create activity and vitality, which will reduce opportunities for antisocial behaviour. Fourth, full provision will be made for storage and disposal of waste generated by the proposed use. Fifth, the property was not previously within Class 1 use, and as such, the proposed change of use does not reduce the level of Class 1 units in the area. Sixth, the Council's environmental services offered no objection to the proposed change of use and have raised no concerns as regards noise and odour nuisance. And finally, the proposed change of use will have no adverse impact on the mixed functions of the wider town centre area. Members are reminded that they require to determine this review against the relevant provisions of the recently adopted local development plan and also any other relevant material considerations. In the event of this review being upheld, I would suggest that the following two conditions be attached to any planning permission granted. First of all, development shall not commence until exact details and specification of the proposed ventilation system, together with details of the proposed maintenance arrangements to serve the premises, have been submitted to and approved in writing by the planning authority. Thereafter, the approved details shall be fully implemented prior to the premises opening for the first time, and this ventilation system shall be retained and maintained in accordance with approved details in perpetuity. The reason for that condition being to protect local residents from nuisance arising from cooking odours. And the second condition would be development shall not commence until details of the proposed waste storage facilities have been submitted to and approved in writing by the planning authority, with the reason for this condition being to ensure that the waste facilities are acceptable to the planning authority. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can I open it out to the review body? Councillor Convery.
Thanks very much, Chair. The site visit was very helpful, as I'm not a local to that area, so it was a good opportunity for me to see firsthand. So I didn't have an issue at all with this application until we went round the back to have a look at where the waste was going to go, and I was quite shocked, to be quite honest, that there didn't seem to be anywhere to facilitate where this development would dispose of their waste. The actual property is enclosed in a wall, so there was nowhere for them to actually put a bin. Now this kind of business, you can't just use a wheelie bin like a normal household. It has to be a bulk bin like the other shops, the other food shops are using, and there is just absolutely nowhere for them to store, never mind get an access put in. And it concerned me that wasn't even addressed on the plans at all. They didn't show. I mean, we would never have known that there was a wall went straight across the back of that development and that there was a fence from the properties next door enclosing that area and all together. We would never have known that. So that is a great concern to me, because as we went round, we've seen that there was a huge amount of these bulk bins everywhere, and rats, there's the problems with rats there must be immense. So that swayed me. I'm not 100% for this development anymore, due to the fact that they just don't seem to have taken into consideration at all where their waste is going to go. Okay, sorry, thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Convery. Provost Lecturer.
Thank you, Chair. I would echo Councillor Convery's concerns. I mean, as one of the local members, excuse me, developing your cough, I think. You haven't given me COVID. I've certainly had a number of representations over the years
from local residents, given the number of sheer number of hot food carry-out shops and such like in the area, and a whole variety of concerns. So it's not new, and I think most people who live there would just see this as being another unacceptable addition to what is already an existing problem. I mean, I'm a wee bit surprised at the environmental health saying there's not an issue there, because I know as a local member, I've certainly gone to them. I've had clean-ups of Giffnock from John Cassell's, who's been very helpful, and ensuring there's, you know, waste bins are emptied a bit more regularly, and putting more waste baskets in there, because, you know, there's all sorts of issues. There's pizzas and burgers that are sold, and you get these half-eaten pizzas in boxes that are left by the young team on Friday and Saturday nights, and that attracts vermin into the area. So it's not just the bins at the back, which are bad enough. So, you know, there is a problem there. And I know, as I say, from, you know, just my own ward work, I've asked for action on rats and for a general tidy up of, you know, rubbish coming out of bins and pizza boxes and all that type of thing. People complain about rats, and they complain about foxes, and they complain about seagulls. One of them, an MSP who lives across the road close to Subway, who complains about seagulls eating bread from the bins at the back of Subway. So, you know, this is something which is ongoing for a whole number of years. It's not new to the area. And I think we had fortunately had the chance to see the bins at the back. It's a huge eyesore. I mean, that's a busy car park. It's a car park for people using the train and for using a popular, fairly large library. It's a real eyesore when you go down and you have to walk past it. And that's, you know, that's assuming the bins are not overflowing, and they usually are with rubbish. I mean, the fact is the shopkeepers don't keep the bins in the areas that they're supposed to, you know, which is behind that wall. They choose to just congregate all these bins together there, and it's not even the council that you know, uplifts the rubbish. They contract it out to private contractors. So you have various private contractors coming along at different times of the day, sometimes morning, sometimes evening, you know, depending what deal that the shopkeepers can get with them to actually empty all of this. It's just a very unsatisfactory state of affairs. And I just think as local member, I would really, you know, uphold what the objectors are saying. I mean, there's maybe a small number of houses, but their complaints are absolutely valid. And, you know, if you go round into Orchard Drive, which is the houses just beyond Sava there, as the orchard tree was, they've had problems with rats, and there's been objections in, as Angela will know, to licensing because of some of the noise issues and the potential for trouble with the licenses that are granted there as well. So I just think the whole thing is very unsatisfactory. I do accept, and I have to be honest here, if you just pitch up in Giffnock and you look at all of these nice eating places which are usually busy, it's very easy to say, well, it's just another one. It just adds to Giffnock Village. You know, why would we not grant another one? I get that, but I mean, we're ignoring what is, I think, a serious issue with vermin, with noise, with youth disturbance, and with general rubbish in the area. And one other thing is just the ventilation. Speaking to the other shop owner at the moment, he made the point that if the fan was facing his yard, it probably wouldn't be an issue. But there's no indication of what type of ventilation's going in there. I think Andrew said that would be one of the conditions, but it's an important condition. And I would again highlight the planners and environmental health to the problems you've got at the row of shops further down at the Marys, where there is a small Indian carry out there. And for very good reasons in the summer, because there's not a lot of space in the kitchen. The fan is on from about 4 o'clock in the afternoon to whenever they close at 11, 12 at night or whatever. And you have to do that because of the working conditions of the people who work in the kitchens. But it's a huge nuisance to the people who live down there in the Marys. They get the noise, they can't enjoy their back gardens because of this industrial fan, which is constantly on, plus all the cooking odours from the Indian restaurant. So, you know, we don't know what kind of restaurant is
is going to be put in there. But it might be something which is, you know, could be fish, it could be Indian, it could be anything that's strong odours. So it just again adds to the noise and the smell that's already a problem round at the back there. So for very practical reasons, I would actually uphold what the planners have done, and I think they've done the right decision in refusing planning permission. Thank you.
Very much, Councillor Miller.
Mute.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. I really can't add much more to what Provost Fletcher has said. He was very vocal in what he says, and I agree with everything he said. And also what Councillor Convery has said. I mean, the two things I've written down is the waste conditions that Andrew said and the ventilation. I was one of the first to get there at the site visit today, and I was kind of hung about and I went round the back, and I seen the bins getting emptied just before we got there. And something, as Provost Fletcher said, the one of the bins was overflowing just as it was getting emptied, and it's got to get held down so that it doesn't flap about all over the place in the back of a lorry. So the waste condition is a problem because of the wall at the back. Now, they don't say they're going to make a hole in the wall to get in there along that lane out the side door. We really don't know what's going on there. So I mean, to me, there's a lack of information, and as Councillor Fletcher said about the ventilation and what type of hot food takeaway is going to be.
Thank you very much, Councillor Miller. I'm in complete agreement with all points made by all three members. I think looking at the site in isolation, you could see that it could make a nice restaurant. But as we walk up, I started to notice the number of restaurants and takeaways that were all the way around there. But then I'm in complete agreement. It was the visit to the back that was the most surprising. I really was quite shocked at how many bins were there already, and that we would be, if we overturned the decision, we would be adding to that. And without the information that you're right, it is necessary. Can I move that we uphold the planner's decision? If I have a seconder, Councillor Miller. Thank you very much. Sharon, can I pass this to yourself?
So just to confirm that the decision of the committee is to uphold officer's decision and refuse planning permission.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Thank you very much. Can I move us on to the last item, which is, bear with me, review 2022-03, erection of two-storey extension to front of dwelling 92 Glenshee Avenue, Neilston. Do we have sufficient information to determine the review? Yes, when we've been out, we've been on site today. We've had a good look. Can I pass over to yourself, Andrew, to introduce the review?
Pardon me. Under this application, planning permission is sought for the erection of a two-storey extension to the front of the existing dwelling house on the application site. The proposed extension would replace the existing single-storey porch to the front of the property and would occupy a slightly larger footprint than the existing porch. The extension would provide for a new entrance porch at ground level and an enlarged bedroom at first floor level. The extension would feature a standard double pitch roof which would tie in with the roof slope and pitch of the existing dwelling house. Externally, the proposed extension would be finished to match those finishes on the existing dwelling house. I can confirm that no letters of representation have been received in respect of the application. Turning now to the reasons for the planning officer's decision, full details are provided within the report of handling, which is provided within the agenda papers. The report of handling indicates that the application requires to be assessed against the terms of policies D1 and D14 of the adopted local development plan. The report of handling advises that the proposed extension is considered to be incongruous and detrimental to the character of the existing house and the surrounding area, and would be visually dominant and unsympathetic to the visual amenity of the surrounding area. These considerations are reflected within the terms of the decision notice. In terms of the grounds put forward in support of the appeal, the appellant's agent makes the following points. There are 2 points. The proposed extension is almost identical, albeit slightly smaller, than the 2-storey extension to the front of the property at 62 Glenshea Avenue, which was granted planning permission by the council under the terms of planning permission reference 2020/0373/TP. And secondly, the design of the extension is not considered to be incongruous or intrusive to the character of the local area. If the nearby property has already built an almost identical and slightly larger front extension. Could I remind members that they're required to determine this application against the relevant provisions of the local development plan and also any other relevant material considerations. In the event of this review being upheld, I would suggest the following condition. Development shall not commence until samples of the external finishing materials to be used on the proposed development have been submitted to and approved in writing by the planning authority. Thereafter, the development shall be implemented in accordance with these approved details, with the reason for this condition being to ensure that the development is acceptable in appearance. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Andrew. Can I bring in, well, open it out and bring in Councillor Miller?
Thank you, Chair. At least I'm not muted this time. I must admit, this must be one of the easiest decisions the LRB has ever had to make. We've got an application for something that is almost identical to something that is 15 houses further up the road. Granted, the one up the road is detached and this is a semi-detached, but it's actually slightly smaller than the one up the road. So I have no problem in overturning the planning officer's decision in this one.
Thank you very much. Councillor Combray?
Thanks very much, Chair. To be quite honest, this just confused me. I can't understand why this was refused. As Councillor Miller said, there's a couple of houses up the road that's actually larger than the one that's being proposed, and it's actually relatively new. So I don't understand how that one could be passed not that long ago, and then this one refused, which is actually smaller. The one thing that I was glad to see was what the condition about the outside of the house. I mean, it showed in number 62 that the whole outside of the house was in the same render, which was very nice. So it made the impact that much less. So I was glad to see that if this is passed, that the condition that condition was in there, that we do get a sample of the outside render. But I'm in a total 100% agreement with Councillor Miller. I have got no problems at all with passing this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Provost?
Thank you. Yes, I support what's been said about the render and such like, and having viewed the one at number 62, it certainly makes a difference and tends to lessen the visual impact of it. I have to say I've got some sympathy for the planning officer who rejected it. I think if it wasn't for the one we had already, the council had approved at number 62, I think I would be upholding the view of the planner, because I don't think it looks particularly nice to build out towards the front. And had there not been a breach already of that, I would have been quite happy to uphold the decision to refuse planning permission, because I don't think it's a particularly good thing to encourage. But I, like the rest of you, I think we've rather sold the pass, given that there's a larger one being recently approved, as I say, just up the road and only a couple of years ago. So I think in the circumstances, with no real alternative other than to allow this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yes, I agree with yourself, Provost. If this had been in isolation, I'm usually a kind of stickler for, I don't like it coming, you know, some the development coming out the front of the house. But as soon as I went by the one further up the road, my mind was completely and utterly made up. I'll move that we overturn the planner's decision, and on the basis that I think they put down that it is contrary to policy D1 because it's visually dominant and unsympathetic to the visual amenity of the surrounding area. But the surrounding area already has one passed by the planners just a short while ago. So I do find overturn that point on that policy. If there's a particular policy needed, I would like to draw attention to that. I don't find it to be incongruous. So if I can move that we overturn the decision of the planners, if I have a seconder, please. Councillor Convery. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can I pass over to yourself, Sharon?
So the decision of the committee is to reverse the officer's decision and approve planning permission subject to the suggested condition, which is inclusive of the render suggested by the planning officer and standard conditions.
Thank you. And that is our last local review body meeting for this term. I want to say thank you to everyone for your help, and I will say, and to the members, we've had some tough decisions over the last few years, so thank you so very much for helping with all of that.
Tough decisions to come.
Oh, yes. Sharon, again, thank you for your help. It's been really invaluable. Leona, I wanted to say thank you to you as well, because you're running this, you're helping us every single time. So huge thank you to you for keeping us all right. It's really appreciated. And as I said, to the members, yes, an enormous thank you for all. No, and we have made, I am really looking forward to the new supplementary planning guidance on the householder design coming out, because I'm so pleased that we were all listened to and that's been taken on board. I really am. So thanks for getting us there and getting that to help the next local review body that starts up. So yes, it's been wonderful. So thank you very much.
Okay, bye folks.
Okay, thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very
Bye.
much, Chair. Thank you very
Bye.
much.